Hello and welcome to The Morning Bean, a show not about coffee. Instead, we enjoy our coffee while discussing current events. I'm your host, Denny London, and today's episode is called How It Started, How It's Going. Before we jump into the downfall of society and possibly the next pandemic, please consider giving the show a follow and a 5-star review. It really helps those crazy robot algorithms. Algorithms. The January 6th super bipartisan, super fair, super select committee yells surprise, and it wasn't for America's 246th birthday. A witness testimony was Amber Heard around the world and possibly the cosmos. We'll take a look at Cassidy Hutchinson and relive the horrific moments when part-time ninja Donald Trump went rogue in the back of a limo. Actually, I think it was an SUV. No matter. Others have talked about it, but I think you'll appreciate the angle we take on this story that will be told for generations to come. Speaking of cosmos, on Tuesday, Tucker Carlson had a special guest on his show to discuss aliens, UFOs, and why we need to shoot one out of the sky. We'll break down the clip and I'll tell you why this is not only dangerous, but potentially a catastrophic idea. As always, we'll have a you probably shouldn't have tweeted that and some TV ratings, but first, 3 quick ones. Our first quick one, how it started, how it's going. Remember last year when the White House rejoiced and bragged about saving us 16 cents off of our 4th of July festivities compared to 2020? Well, if you don't, here's what they said. Planning a cookout this year? Catch up on the news? According to the Farm Bureau, the cost of a 4th of July barbecue is down from last year. It's a fact you must hear. Hot dog, the Biden economic plan is working, and that's something we can all relish. Lots of puns in that one. Basically, they were saying the cost of a 4th of July cookout in 2021 is down 16 cents from last year. Now, obviously, they were mocked for this, and it was a complete joke when they posted that, because what is 16 cents? It's nothing. Not in this day and age, and not in that day and age. That's how it started. Here's how it's going. This year, according to many sources, the cost of a 4th of July cookout is $10 more compared to last year. I don't think that was the Biden regime's intent, or at least I hope it wasn't. Clearly, this Biden economic plan is not working. When I think about the 4th of July, I think of beer, steak, hamburgers, and chicken. With the help of BLS.gov, we can take a look at the cost of products from May of 2021 and compare them to May of 2022. Those are the latest numbers they have posted. So let's see how it started and how it's going. The average cost of malt beverages, aka beer, per 16 ounces in 2021 was $1.50. Average cost now, $1.63. That's an 8.2% increase. The average cost per pound for a steak sirloin in 2021 was $9.89. Now it's $10.45 a pound, aka a 5.6% increase. And on a quick side note, never pay for a steak at a restaurant. Don't do it. You can get the same quality, if not better, cooking it yourself at home. I'm not sure where this came from. It's just something I'm passionate about. I digress. The average cost of a pound of beef in 2021 was $4.60. The average cost now is around $4.89. That's an 8.9% increase. The average cost for a pound of chicken in 2021 was $1.49 a pound, and now it's $1.82. Over a 22% increase. I know what you're thinking, Denny, enough with the numbers. Listen, Linda, it's important to have data to back up your facts. We don't go around here all willy-nilly saying stuff. The last one that needs highlighted, which impacts us all on a daily basis. Even more than the increased cost of my 2 favorite things in the world, beer and meat, gas to get to your 4th of July parties in 2021 was around $2.83 a gallon. Now, its averages around $5. Some places it's up to $7, depending on where you live. Unless you go to Sheetz right now, which they have a mega deal going on, it's only $3.99 a gallon. I will not celebrate this flash deal as a victory for America or for Joseph Are You Done Being a Tyrant Yet Biden. It's merely a marketing ploy by Sheetz, which is a good idea, to sell gas at a loss in order to get people into their stores to buy other products. I mean, they sell food and pretty much everything in there. Now, with all this being said, I highly doubt we'll see another celebratory tweet from our overlords at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue like we did last year, but if we do, you know that we'll talk about next week. LAmerican.com has our second quick one. While at G7, Biden announces plan for massive vaccine plant, hundreds of millions of doses annually for COVID-19. Here's what our soulless sack of a president said. 2 years ago, COVID-19 didn't need any reminders about how critical investments in healthcare systems were. And health security is both to fight the pandemic and to prepare for the next one, because it will not be the last pandemic we have to deal with. That's why the United States, together, the G7 partners, and the World Bank are investing in a new industrial scale vaccine manufacturing facility in Senegal. When completed, we'll have the potential produce hundreds, he missed a word, a potential to produce hundreds of millions of doses of vaccines annually for COVID-19 and other diseases. As you all know, I'm a big fan of vaccines, the hugest fan, and a fan of investing money in West African nations like Senegal. Obviously, I'm joking. If you're going to spend taxpayers' money to create jobs, at least build it in America. Come on, man. Who approves this funding? Was there a vote by our legislators to approve this? To get a mega facility built in Senegal? I highly doubt it. The whole concept of money is a joke at this point. When will these printers run out of ink? $200 billion is being invested. Our final quick one is dedicated to the jailbirds, R. Kelly, who got sentenced to 30 years in prison for federal sex crimes, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who got 20 years in the slammer for being the accomplice to sex trafficking tycoon Jeffrey Epstein, who killed himself. Obviously, he didn't kill himself. They have Ghislaine Maxwell on suicide watch right now, which means she's probably going to die soon. Also, shout out to Elma, who got vaccinated, and Lord Fauci, who got COVID for the second time in a month. Trust the science, folks. Trust the science. I am the science. Now on to our main story. I'll allow one of our favorite and trusted propaganda sites, The Atlantic, to set the tone, and then we'll actually listen to the 100% true testimony from Miss Hutchinson. Viewer discretion is advised. We Now Know by Tom Nichols. After yesterday's damning testimony, what more will it take for Trump supporters to choose their country over their leader? Yesterday, Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide to Donald Trump's chief of staff, provided a key piece of evidence connecting Trump to an attempted coup after the 2020 election. We will learn more in the days to come, but we know the most important things now. Sometimes a sudden presentation of truth about a terrible thing, such as Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, provides a kind of tipping point where revelations finally move people from denial to acceptance. Think back to the Cold War. I doubt that this guy was alive during the Cold War, when Americans argued over whether the Soviet Union was as bad as the American government portrayed it. There was a lot of unanswered questions. Did the Soviets or the Nazis kill thousands of Poles in the Katan forest in 1940? Were the Rosenbergs really guilty of stealing atomic secrets? Indeed, a notable 1990 book even suggested that we might never know who really started the Korean War. There was enough blame to go around, so we shouldn't even ask the question. When the Soviet Union fell, however, the Russians opened up some of their classified archives, and we got answers to all these questions. Stalin ordered the Polish killings. The Rosenbergs were guilty. The Soviets and the Koreans started the Korean War. The Yale historian John Gaddis summarized it all in the title of his 1997 book, We Now Know. That's where the title for the article came from. I like that. These revelations made a lot of people embarrassed and angry. Perhaps more so in the West than in Russia. Which brings us to the work of the January 6th committee and Hutchinson's testimony. From practically the moment he descended the escalator at Trump Tower in 2015, Trump supporters have been in denial about Trump's emotional instability, his malignant narcissism, his fascination with violent rhetoric. He's talking about saying fight like hell, which everybody says, and his hostility to the American constitutional order. But without a peek behind the Oval Office curtains, suspicions were only conjecture. We didn't know for certain if Trump after he lost the 2020 most secure election in history, was trying to subvert the vote or seeking only to exhaust all his legal remedies. We didn't know if he truly understood that the mob on January 6th he'd summoned was armed and dangerous. We didn't know if he'd actually agreed with the chance to hang Mike Pence. We now know. Now, look, I appreciate a good preface, like any other person out there, but Tom's fancy words and references do not tell the story. For that, let's hear it from the horse's mouth herself. The horse's mouth herself, not AOC. This is the clip from Hutchinson's testimony. Roll clip H1.
Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing. The president had a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
If you need to pause the show and take a moment to recover, I completely understand. It felt like we were all in that limo with Cass when Donnie raged out, grabbed the steering wheel, and precisely grabbed the clavicle of a Secret Service agent. An impressive feat considering how thick suits are. But that just shows how great our president was. I feel for this agent. I really do. January 6th was not only the deadliest assault on our democracy in our nation's history since the Civil War, but it was also the deadliest assault on a clavicle since I fell off my bike when I was 15 in Dr. Canone's parking lot. As far-fetched as this story sounds, the mainstream media ran with it. Hard. Just take a listen to these headlines. The Huffington Post, 9 bombshells from Cassidy Hutchinson's January 6th testimony. The Hill, The Memo, Cassidy Hutchinson drops hammer on Donald Trump. The Independent, Cassidy Hutchinson's life will never be the same after bombshell January 6th testimony, says ex-Trump official. Again, The Hill, the same day, within 3 hours of each other. 5 explosive moments from Cassidy Hutchinson's January 6th testimony. That's actually 4 less than the Huffington Post. CNN, Opinion, this is so much worse than Watergate. Axios, this is the last one we'll highlight. Cassidy Hutchinson drops bombshell in damning January 6th testimony. So much bombshells, so much wow. Here's the truth. Trump was not in a limo. He was in an SUV. There's picture proof of this. There's video proof of this. In fact, all of this story is complete hearsay. And without cross-examination, we don't get to see that as the American people. And it's not just according to the pictures, the videos. This is according to Trump and the Secret Service. Besides Trump, the other 2 important names in this tale are Bobby Engel, former head of Trump's security detail, the victim in this story, and Tony Ornato, a Secret Service agent who served as one of Trump's political advisors. Both men have come out to say that this story, this situation, is complete bullshit. And both men are willing to testify to this committee. Think they'll actually testify? Do you think the January 6th committee will allow these 2 men to speak up against their narrative, against their propaganda? No way. That wasn't the point of Hutchinson's testimony. The purpose of this was to get the headlines that I mentioned. If I were to guess, I'd say at least 75% of Americans don't actually read the news, articles, or the newspaper. They just read the headlines that they see on social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever else you use. For now, the mission was accomplished for the J6 committee. Now, I do speculate if the Democratic Party paid this 25-year-old airhead to just lie her face off. I don't think it's going to be worth it for her in the long run. Her political career is completely over. But maybe this whole thing is true. If Limogate ends up being true, then I believe that's also a win for the American First Movement. It will show that we had a president that wanted to peacefully and patriotically protest next to his supporters versus watch it on TV in the safety of the White House. A president willing to fight the Secret Service and drive the limo himself to the front lines of the Capitol during the protest. A man of the people, by the people, for the people. So either way, it's a win. And in the end, the truth always wins. We'll just add Limogate to the long list of mainstream media and Democrat lies that include Pizzagate, Russiagate, and both impeachment hoaxes. Now on to our final story of the day. As mentioned earlier, Tucker Carlson had a guest on to discuss our UFO issue. Take a listen.
Dozens of sailors have just told a documentary filmmaker called Jeremy Corbell that they were swarmed by, quote, at least 100 UFOs off the coast of San Diego, all of which had physical capabilities that were beyond anything people have made that challenge the laws of physics. What is this exactly? Nick Pope is a former UK Ministry of Defense official, and we're happy to have him join us tonight. So, Nick, tell us what these sailors described and what you think it adds up to, if you would.
Well, they described a series of objects literally swarming around multiple U.S. Navy ships. They said that speeds and maneuvers seemed way ahead of anything they'd seen. Now, the DoD and the Navy are saying, they're trying to say, that some of this is drones. Maybe it is. And with China threatening Taiwan, if this is foreign adversary drones and they can do that to the U.S. Navy, we're in big trouble. Either way, this is an act of provocation, arguably an act of war. The American people need some answers. They deserve answers.
So if these are, in fact, from a foreign military, and as far as I know, the Pentagon has given no evidence whatsoever of that, but if it is, then, I mean, it's probably not even worth talking about having a war with China because they've already won.
Well, the first step is to try and bring one of these things down. I know it sounds provocative, but look, if these things are literally in our airspace and over our assets, we do have things that can bring these sorts of objects, whatever they are, down. We have lasers. We have the ability to send an electromagnetic pulse. Let's bring one down and let's get those answers. Everyone's asking the question. NASA is asking, the DoD is asking, the military is asking. The American people are asking too, and I think we've been having this discussion now for far too long to just put off getting to the bottom of this and giving people the truth, whatever that may be.
Owning 2 telescopes, 4 astronomy binoculars, and having read many books dedicated to outer space and physics, I feel like I can comment on this subject with confidence. First and foremost, I definitely believe that there is intelligent life out there in the universe. It's honestly just a numbers thing. To give you an idea of how vast and large the universe is, first let's take a look at how many galaxies there are. There are at least 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe, each with on average 100 billion stars. Our closest galactic neighbor, Andromeda, has 1 trillion stars, which you could see Andromeda with your naked eye right now. On a humorous note, if you search how many galaxies are there, Google mentions people also ask, how many galaxies does Earth have? How many galaxies does the Milky Way have? And what are the 7 galaxies in the universe? I know that doesn't add really any substance to the story, but I would be doing my listeners a disservice if I didn't share. As you could see, or as you could hear, even if 1% of the stars in the universe had life, and 1% of those had intelligent life, it would still be an astronomical amount. The math is impossible, especially for your average American living in the suburbs. Something else to consider is what's called the Fermi paradox, which basically says that due to massive timescales of both the Earth, which is 4.5 billion years old, and the universe, which is estimated to be around 13.6 billion years old, the chances of us humans who have been here on Earth for roughly 200,000 years and another intelligent life form meeting face to face is actually slim to none. The last thing we need to talk about is the Kardashev scale, which is a method of measuring a civilization's level of technological advancement based on the amount of energy it is able to use and harvest. There are many versions of this scale. They've been updated since the 1950s, but we're going to keep it simple with the original scale that was created. A Type 1 civilization uses the energy of its planet. This is us. We use fossil fuels. We're starting to use solar a little bit, but it's not our main source. We use like natural gas and fossil fuels. A Type 2 civilization can harness the full power and potential of its star. And I'm not talking about just like little solar panels that you put on your home. I'm talking about mega structures like a Dyson sphere, which could capture the full energy of our sun. Imagine living in a world with unlimited energy. The last is a Type 3, which can harness the energy of the entire galaxy. More than likely, a visitor from the cosmos would be a Type 3 civilization. Do you honestly think that we would have the technology to defend ourselves against a being capable of intergalactic travel? There's no way. And provoking these UFOs could honestly be the end of humanity. They could exterminate us like bugs. Us defeating them would be like the Sentinelese, a forever isolated tribe from Africa, defeating the United States military in a hot conflict. It's just not going to happen. Our best bet is to attempt to contact them peacefully or just let them observe us as we destroy ourselves and obsess over likes and TikToks. Now on to you probably shouldn't have tweeted that. Our highlighted tweet today comes from Sarah Rayo, who runs the website racetodinner.com. She said, "The country is a racist, transphobic, homophobic, xenophobic, ableist, classist, Islamophobic, misogynist dumpster fire. As such, seeing the American flag makes me want to vomit." Damn, Sarah. You know we got the 4th coming up, right? I have 2 words for you, Sarah. Fucking move. If America is all of those ick things you listed and it's so nasty, why do you remain here? Why do any of these people that hate America remain here? Easy answer. They're lying. We are the best country in the world. Sarah's home country doesn't even allow women to show their face in public. For that reason, you probably shouldn't have tweeted that. We'll wrap things up, as always, with some cable news ratings, because I want you to know, and I want to remind you that you are the majority, and you need to continue to fight out there and spread the word. We're in a civil war, you know, an information civil war. These numbers are actually from the second quarter, 2022, so I believe that was April, May, and June. All right, so the cable TV top viewer networks. This involves all the network. This isn't just like the news networks. Fox News, number 1. TNT, number 2. ESPN, number 3. MSNBC, number 4. CNN is down at number 13. They're beat out by the Hallmark Channel and then HGTV. And then they have a graph here for the cable news audience share. In prime time, we're talking Jesse Waters, we're talking about the homie Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. Fox News had 53% of the viewership. CNN had 16%. MSNBC had 26%. And that's during prime time. The total day viewers, Fox News had 51%, CNN had 18%, and MSNBC had 24%. So even if you add CNN, both the fake news networks together, CNN and MSNBC, they still do not equal the amount of people that watch Fox News. There's no reason why we should lose an election. Absolutely no reason. 2022 should be a red wave, baby. All right, thank you guys so much for checking out today's show. If you enjoyed it, tell a friend. In fact, I think you and your hypothetical friend should give it a follow. New episodes every Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern. We also upload 1 video a week to the Rumble account at The Morning Bean. Feel free to check out the socials, Gitter, Twitter, or Truth Social at Denny London. We can continue the conversation there. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. God bless and cue the music.